Welcome back. Another podcast. Got everything done. Did a lot today. Tuesday, and it's only 3 o'clock, so we got some time for a podcast to keep the thing going. The position by position, we'll go to first base. Last week did catcher, so we kind of talked about some of the interesting, standout, new, exciting names in catcher, and we'll do that for first base today. Once again, pretty good viewership, I'd say, on the YouTube video, the screen share. So we're doing that again. 75 views or something. Nowhere close to an actual big number, but whatever. Several dozen people seem to be interested in it, so why not? Did get, I was convicted about not doing the Bible talk, the 2 minutes of Bible talk, so I should get back to that. I just hate that I said I would do it, and then I bail on it, and I don't want people to think I'm wimping out or anything. So, and then with the screen share, as soon as provided we're going, for the Bible nerds out there, I actually have this software called Logos, so I can show that. It is it's a Bible, it's a desktop Bible application with just all kinds of sweet stuff. So you can see it here. Um, so I don't know if you're a Bible student yourself, or if you want to learn and kind of get into it. I would recommend Logos, Logos. You can see here commentaries on the right. I mean, I'm not going to get into it all, but there's just every resource you could possibly want here. Really cool. So I've got Romans 3 open, one of the key fundamentals of Christianity, of the Christian belief, and I will keep this I'll keep this to 2 minutes. Is this verse here? I'd say this is Paul writing to the Roman Christians. The book of Romans, probably the most comprehensive book in the Bible in terms of the actual just laying out the theology of it. So here he is. What then? Are Jews any better off? Not at all, for we have already charged that all, both Jews and Greeks, are under sin. The point of this is that the Israelite people, the Jewish people, thought at first that salvation was only for them, that God only cared about saving them, because that's how it kind of was in the Old Testament. That's who God spoke to, the Israelites, through Moses and those other prophets, Abraham, Moses, etc. So the New Testament comes, Jesus comes and dies, and then all of a sudden Jesus is like, yeah, no, this isn't just for the Jewish people, man, it's for everybody. So Paul has to answer this charge. He's writing a lot to Gentiles. Gentiles just meaning non-Jewish people. Greeks is another word he uses it. He's writing to people in Rome in this case, and just largely a Greek audience. So he's got to make the point that, look, no, the Jews aren't anything special, because none is righteous. This is a quote from an Old Testament passage. None is righteous, no, not one. No one understands. No one seeks for God. All have turned aside together. They have become worthless. No one does good, not even one. Bottom line point is that a lot of people think that you get to heaven, you earn God's grace you earn God's salvation through action, through something you can do. But the point is that you don't get to compare yourself to other people. Sure, I'm not a murderer. I'm not a whatever, fill in the blank, criminal, terrible person in that way. But that's comparing myself to another person. The standard is God. Am I perfect like God? And of course, no. I'm no closer to God than a murderer is, right? That's the standard. To get into heaven without help, it would be perfection. Am I any close to perfection as someone who's just done the most horrible things? Of course not. It's like I'm a little bit better at basketball, say, than the people I work. I was in IT, and I worked on this IT help desk, and I'm whatever. I'm 5'10". We can move off of this, but I do want to, this analogy is kind of funny to me. I'm so I worked on an IT help desk, and we would do stuff after work. Young professionals, not married, no kids. We would do stuff. So we'd go play in sports leagues, and they were all terrible, of course. So am I. I'm not saying I'm great, but whatever. I know what I'm doing with a basketball. So I was better at basketball than those guys. Did that make me any closer to the NBA than them? No. I mean, we were both infinitely far away from the NBA. So I think that's the point of Scripture, of the idea of human depravity. It's not that you can't be better. It's not that you can't be good or bad on earth. There's obviously standards and rules and laws to follow, and that's all good, and we should strive to be good, loving people. But when you're relating that to my actions in light of getting myself into heaven, it's worthless. You can't do it. You're no better than anybody else. Salvation is by grace through faith, nothing you can do about it. So that's the story of the Bible, story of the gospel, really. So there you go. Let's go to first base. We got the main dashboard up here. Again, we're going to flip back and forth. We've got the MLB and MILB stats dashboard. Once again, I know a lot of you, probably most of you, are just listening, so I'll try to keep this to make sense for people just listening as well, but I am showing screen on the YouTube version of this, so check that out if that's a little bit more interesting to you. So yeah, we'll be flipping back and forth between these. I full screen them all. Maybe I can zoom in again a little bit more, but let's filter to first baseman and get going. I don't know who I'm talking about at all. Once again, no pre-planning went into this, but let's start with the high ownership guys. Let's look for some interesting names. One guy I've noticed recently kind of standing out, Bryce Harper is whiffing a lot. 7 homers, 11% barrel rate, 19% K, 50% hard hit rate. I mean, 388 expected WOBA. Like, it's all pretty good. Nobody's upset about, I don't know. I mean, 7 homers isn't all that exciting, you know, when you took Bryce Harper in the second round or something like that. But if we just kind of look, let's go to his hitter profile over the last 2 years. We'll slide over here to the last 2 years dashboard that's recently been updated. But what we see here is this zone contact rate has really fallen a ton. So last year in 2024, Bryce Harper had a 73% contact rate overall, and in the strike zone 85%. So really, like that 85%, I'd say that's kind of the threshold. I think the league average is 82, 83. So, and obviously it matters quite a bit how hard you're swinging the bat, what kind of impact you have on the ball. Like, you're perfectly happy to take a few more whiffs from a guy like Bryce Harper, or somebody who swings the bat very hard, has a lot of power, right? Of course. But anyway, like, I don't know, you do want an at least league average in zone contact rate, right? Or else you're just going to get a lot of strikeouts, and that's going to be prohibitive. And Harper was always really good at that. He kind of had that for a long time, that elite power and contact skill. I know maybe he's never been elite in contact, but you can see it here on the screen, or just listen to what I already said. 73% contact rate last year, pretty competitive, especially with a 10.6% barrel rate. This year, though, the barrel rate hasn't gotten any better. I mean, a little bit better, 10.9% overall, but whiffing a lot, just like a lot of whiffs, 64% overall, and again, zone contact under 80%. I don't know, man. I mean, he's not a young pup anymore, and maybe he's just not quite the stud hitter, not really an MVP threat anymore. I don't know. 810 OPS this year, 440 slug. It's all pretty, like, it's more good than great, I'd say. I mean, the walks are still there, 15%, still getting on base a ton. That's always been his main thing. He's always been excellent at getting on base, but just not really seeing the crazy upside that we have had from him in the past. And let's check on the steals, because I don't have any Bryce Harper because I haven't been really paying attention. 7 steals, that's pretty nice. I mean, a 7-7 pace. That's 20, we're about 1/3 of the way. I'd say we're exactly 1/3 of the way, really. He's at 210 plate appearances, so you triple that to 630, and that's about a full season. So yeah, 21, probably even a little bit more than that. Mid-20s in each of those, that kind of pace. That's excellent, but I don't know. Is that what you wanted if you took him at the 14th, 15th overall pick? Not quite. And the slugging is a little bit concerning. ISO down at 177. I know that I have poo-pooed the ISO stat in the past, but whatever. I mean, it's meaningful for him. The main thing you want from Harper is homers and RBIs, and the ISO does show you that. I don't know. Just the extra base hits aren't coming like they used to be. Maybe it's a slow start. I mean, 200 some plate appearances in, long way to go, but it's interesting to me. Just a lot of whiffs for Bryce Harper, so keep an eye on that. Wilson Contreras, I'd say, should be talked about, should be mentioned. That just, he was one of the sharpest picks of the draft, I think, and I guess I'm saying that only because I did take him in the home league, and that's what my home league mates listening to this are going to hear me. They will have already rolled their eyes after hearing me say that he was one of the sharpest picks in the league. But yeah, I mean, he's playing every day as a first baseman. It looked really rough at first. I don't know, arbitrary cutoff here of April 20th. His first 90 plate appearances, he hit 169, slugged 253. But then over his last 110 plate appearances, 5 homers, 319 batting average, 532 slug, 13.5% barrel rate, 77% contact rate. He's just been fantastic. Playing every day, crushing with the bat over the last 3 weeks, really even more than that. And getting that all as a catcher is pretty incredible. So, yeah, he's hitting. If you take out the slow couple of weeks, he's been one of the best hitting first basemen in the league, and you don't even have to use him at the first base slot. Remember early on, the big guys, right? We had those big three breakout names. I don't know if Ben Rice is going to show up here on the screen because I think he might actually be listed as a catcher on here, unless he's just not 80% owned. I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that myself now. Let's see what we have him at. I guess he's just not that owned. Where are you at, Ben Rice? Show up for me, buddy. I don't know. All right, I don't know what's going on. Never mind. Let's forget about that. We will talk about him though. He's certainly a first baseman. Although I did a tweet on him yesterday that kind of explained the whole thing, so I don't feel the need to repeat myself all that much. If I put something in the daily notes or I put something out on Twitter, I kind of feel like I don't want to talk about it as much on the podcast because you've already seen it, a lot of you at least. But sorry, we're doing first base. So Tyler Soderstrom, right? The big early season guys were Torkelson, Soderstrom, Ben Rice, Jonathan Aranda, and they've all cooled off to some extent. But it's good to just check the full season numbers. Always a better idea. We're not going to split it up when we don't have to. So the first guy I mentioned here was Soderstrom. So he's still hanging around very nice numbers, 489 slugging, 10 homers, 23.8% K rate, 7.4% walk rate, 73% contact rate is nice, 15.3% barrel rate. So the power is fantastic. Fly balls are okay, 28% fly ball rate. That's league average-ish. So it's not what you love. I mean, 45% ground ball rate's high, especially when you see that ballpark he plays in. And I think that's probably kind of been what's happened to him a little bit as we've gone on. I mean, if you look at the first, I don't know, when he was really crushing for the first 3 weeks or so, he had a 43% ground ball rate and a 19.6% barrel rate. But then if you look at since April 16th, kind of just doing this on the fly, 130 plate appearances, only 2 homers, a few more strikeouts, 27% strikeout rate, but it's nothing horrible. 12.8% barrel rate, that's still very good, but it's not the 20% that he had early on. And the ground balls are up to 45%, but yeah, it's always silly to overreact or to, okay, well, this is another pet peeve of mine. It's always silly to overreact, period. I don't like that sentence. Take it out of the context of what I'm talking about right now. You don't need to say anything more than that. Like, I don't like when people say, don't drink too much, or don't drive too fast, or don't eat too much, or whatever. Like, it doesn't need to be said. Because if you're saying the term too much, then it's implied that it would be too much. You know, saying don't eat a lot is a much more sensical, useful, helpful phrase, rather than don't eat too much. There is never a time where you want to eat too much. Even if, say, you know, you got a marathon in the morning and you want to eat 5,000 calories at dinner to carb load up or whatever, then that wouldn't be eating too much. That would be eating a lot, but it would be eating appropriate. So it's like, I think that phrase just needs retired. And then in the context we're in right now, I said it's always bad to overreact to. I was going to finish that sentence. I was going to say to early season samples, but no, of course you don't even need to qualify it. It's no matter what it is, no matter what you're talking about, you shouldn't overreact, because the word overreact itself implies that you're doing something wrong. So that's a little, you know, I caught myself there. So what I wanted to say, and what I'm saying with Soderstrom and these other early season short samples, is that you shouldn't react much at all to them, right? Your reaction should be very minimal. Because so much random stuff can happen in the last 2 weeks. I mean, at any point in the season, go look at the last 10 days and you'll find some bad player performing very well. And when that happens in the first 10 days of the season, everybody just loses their minds over it. So, but anyway, 200 plate appearances for Soderstrom. It's a very good sample to study now. And the things are overall very good. 24% K rate's down, 73% contact rate's great, 375 expected WOBA, 288 expected average. 45% ground ball rate, again, like that's a little tiny bit of a problem, but it's not like it's 55%. It's not like over the last 3 weeks it's been 55%. It's not hugely restrictive. I still think Soderstrom is a guy you want to start in pretty much any league. But yeah, the 10 homers are really front loaded. He had 9. 10, doesn't he have 11 now? Is that even right? Let me see if my other dashboard agrees with that. I thought he. I do have to like run these reloads from time to time. 10 home runs, but he got 9 really quick, and then he went like weeks without one, and then he hit one the other day right after I tweeted about it. So yeah, 10 home runs for the year. That looks really good, but it feels not quite as good right now because if you have them, you've only gotten one over the last probably 3 or 4 matchups. So, but whatever. Study the full sample, and things are looking very good for Soderstrom, no doubt about it. Let's then talk about Spencer Torkelson. Okay, so he's got a dozen homers, so he's actually passed up Soderstrom, and I think Ben Rice as well. The K rate is very nice for him. Not very nice, 23.9%, but for him, right? Like that's a big improvement from last year. If we go ahead and study his last 2 years here, pull up the profile. Last year's K rate was very high, 27.6%, and the barrel rate was down at 6.7%. That's just not a combination that you're going to do anything with unless you're a huge base dealer or something like that. High K, low barrel, not a good combination whatsoever, but he's flipped those around. 24% K rate, as I said, and a 14.6% barrel rate this year for Torque. If you want to look at, I think his production has been a bit more steady, although I guess I haven't really seen his name light up anytime recently, but that looks okay. I mean, definitely was pretty good at the beginning of the year, and there's since April 25th or so, looks like things have cooled down. Let's just take that and kind of look. But so here's the deal with Torkelson. Last 88 plate appearances, only a 224 batting average. The barrel rate's still good, 11.7%, but not like, not as high as the season thing is. 318 OBP is kind of mediocre, but the power is still coming, right? Like the homers are still coming. He's got 5 homers on his last 88 plate appearances. So he keeps hitting home runs. That's good. The exit velocity is nothing fantastic. 104.7, 90th percentile. That's a little bit alarming. I don't know if you can really keep up a 15%-ish barrel rate with that kind of lower EV, 90th percentile at least. The max is at 110. So I don't know. I guess that's a little bit concerning. I could say that I could see him kind of playing the rest of the year as like a 240 hitter with, 320, 315 OBP. Although the walk rate is high right now, it's good to see. Swing rate's really low. Chase rate is okay. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you could be a little bit disappointed with him. Maybe he's just not, maybe this first 2 months will prove to be his best. I'm not sure. I don't think he's totally must start in a 10-team league or anything like that. But power's there, good K and barrel rates together. Like, it's good. The first base position isn't absolutely swarming with talent or anything like that. We look at kind of the best guys. Let's take the ownership filter away. Let's go to filter out some of the small samples. You have Freeman, Alonso clearly at the top, but after that, it's like really hard to say there's many other fantasy studs, at least for what we're seeing this year. Freeman and Alonso and Pavin Smith are the only guys over a 900 OPS still. Pavin Smith really doesn't fit into that. He hasn't played every day. He's kind of sits against lefties, and the numbers recently have been pretty rough. And he's got a really high K rate, 29.5% for Pavin Smith, so we don't really expect him to stay up there. So I'd say the clear top tier, Freeman and Alonso. If we're drafting today, I'd still consider Vlad, Harper, Olsen kind of shortly after those guys. But if you look at the numbers, we talked about Harper already. I mean, Vlad just, again, the home run rate just isn't really there. The ground ball rate is up there at 46%. Everything else is great, but he's just a guy that is more of a batting average guy rather than a power stud. I mean, the numbers will get there, but only 5 homers so far, 13.1% barrel rate, just hits too many line drives seemingly. I mean, he just doesn't lift the ball quite at the right optimal angle ranges to really pile up the homers. That said, he did it last year, right? I mean, he hit how many homers last year? 30 homers last year. So he's well behind that pace right now. The slugging is down 120 points from what it was last year at 544. He's down to 424, but a few more strikeouts, 17.5%, way more walks. Maybe the pitchers are just kind of pitching around him, really nothing nothing really around him in that lineup. He's kind of by himself. The Anthony Santander acquisition hasn't worked out. He's been bad. So, yeah, pretty easy to pitch around Vlad. His swing rate is down to 40.6% from 48% last year. That would just really tell you that it is probably the case. He's just getting pitched around a lot, not getting much to hit, and it's hurt him, especially when he doesn't steal bases. Like, what are you happy with, Vlad? I mean, OBP and average. Really, that's the only thing he's been a plus for you for your fantasy team in. So pretty disappointing. I think he's just been kind of overrated for a long time for the fantasy game, at least, especially the roto. OBP points leagues is a different story because the hits and the walks pile up. But yeah, Matt Olson, 18% barrel rate, 23% K rate. So those Ks are up a bit. We saw him around 20% or even under it a little bit. Since he got to Atlanta, he had really made improvements there, but now that's up a bit. I mean, 23% is still perfectly good and fine, but 444 slug, 18% barrel rate. It seems like he just has had a very low. It would seem to be that there's some bad luck on the barrel. So we can go to the barrel and barrel details tab and check on some of that. This will just give you some numbers only on a player's barrels only. So he's got 23 of them on the season, 8 homers so far. Very, very low, 35% home run to barrel. The league average on that is about 10 points higher than that. And for Olson, with a guy that hits the ball pretty hard, you'd expect higher. You'd expect 55, 60% for Olson, but not happening this year. And that's probably because he's only pulled 22% of his 23 barrels, just kind of spreading it around, spraying the barrels around a little bit too much. So there's nothing, a barrel to center field or to opposite field is still a good outcome. You're not like mad about that. I think you can kind of take this stuff we're talking about a little bit too far. But yeah, he's just not really pulling the ball like we've seen in the past, maybe, and that's hurting the overall power production. Again, only 9 homers for him. I say only, that's still really good. It's a homer every 23 plate appearances, but he's not, he's well behind the league leaders, and that's kind of the seasons where he's been a really huge fantasy impact are those years where he's hitting 35 homers or so, and he's not quite at that pace this year. He's probably around, he's looking like a 27 to 30 homer guy right now rather than the 35 to 40 that really makes a difference. But things will come around. 389 expected WOBA, 41% ground ball rate is perfectly under control. 18% barrel rate is really good. So I'd keep going with Olson. If you can buy pretty low on him, I'd be happy to do that. Paul Goldschmidt really stands out. 489 slugging, 5 homers. I mean, we definitely got to do a year-over-year comparison for Goldie here. Not a surprise that he's doing a bit. Well, maybe you could say it's a surprise. I mean, St. Louis to New York is obviously a big park upgrade for him, but at the same time, he was getting another year of age, so you kind of expected more skills degradation, but that's not what we've seen. Barrel rate's up, or actually, sorry, I got that backwards. Barrel rate's actually down 1.7 points, but the contact rate is way up. K rate is way down. So last year, the problem for him was 26.5% K rate, 72.6% contact rate. Those things have improved dramatically this year. 16.4% K rate in 2025, 80% contact rate this year. 299 expected average, 365 expected WOBA, EV90 still checking out just fine, 105.9. That's not an elite number, but it's perfectly high enough to make you think he can be at least a neutral guy on your fantasy team as far as home runs go. And now the batting average is really coming through, man. 299 expected. Great stuff. Zone contact up to 86.5%. I don't know if he shortened the swing or just kind of made an approach shift to try to make more contact. I mean, we could look at that, but I don't think I'm going to use the time for it now. But yeah, the park is good. I mean, he'll steal some opposite field home runs for sure. One thing to say, a 388 BABIP is high. You're not going to get that from him, certainly. I don't think you're going to get a 388 BABIP from anybody over a long sample, but certainly not from a guy that's pretty slow of foot, a right-handed batter. And yeah, I mean, he's hitting the ball hard enough, but it's not elite. He's not near the league leaders or anything like that at this point. But I don't know, but maybe just a wise approach shift. Okay, I'm just going to shorten up, make some more contact, not worry about trying to hit 30 homers anymore. I'll just try to get on base for Judge or whatever. I think he actually hits behind Judge, but you get it. So good stuff for Goldschmidt. I mean, certainly he has proven so far to be a total steal at where he was getting drafted. So that's Goldie. Let's go back to Jonathan Aranda. This is another guy that we heard a lot from early on, but hasn't really been in the highlights recently, I feel. Only 2 homers in May. Only 6 homers on the year. That's interesting. 12 barrels, 6 homers, 50% pull rate, 50% home run to barrel. So it's not a high barrel count, right? The barrel rate is 12%. But he's giving away a lot of plate appearances to strikeouts and walks, 25.5% K rate, 10.5% walk rate. So put those two together, you have 36%. I should like come up with like a stat for that or something, because this does matter, right? This is a good time to talk about it, I guess. You take your barrel rates, and you have to remember with barrel rate that they're not all created equal, right? Barrel rate is barrels out of balls in play. And when you're giving away so many plate appearances to strikeouts or walks, that makes a certain barrel rate play a lot less, impact a lot less. So take a 12% barrel rate for someone like Luis Arraez. I know that he'll never do that, but just for the sake of it, or maybe we can use Jose Ramirez. Maybe actually, since we have the dashboard up, let's just go ahead and find a good example. Let's clear this. Let's look for guys around a 10% barrel rate, between 10 and 11%. Let's look at, so yeah, I'm going to make my point here. I know I'm kind of stammering right now, but we're going to get there. And let's take a good example here. So yeah, Bryce Harper is actually a pretty good example. But no, Michael Conforto is going to be the best example. So look at this. Michael Conforto has a 10.4% barrel rate. Okay. He's got, however, so I mean, that's good. 1 out of every 10 balls in play are a barrel, and that you'd think, okay, well, he should be hitting some homers. But instead he's not. He only has 2, because he's given up 27.5% of his plate appearances to strikeouts, and then another 13% to walks. So 27 plus 13 is 40. So only 60% of the time when he goes to the plate, he's getting a ball in play. So the 10% of his balls in play being barrels turns into a lot fewer barrels, because there's just so much fewer balls in play. Now compare that to someone with the same barrel rate, 10.4-ish%. You take Yainer Diaz here. He's got a 10.0% barrel rate, but he is only walking 2% of the time, and he's striking out 19% of the time. So 19 plus 2, 21%. And so he's only giving away 21%. So 79% of his plate appearances, he's putting the ball in play. Massive difference there. So his barrel rate, Yainer Diaz's 10% barrel rate, turns into 5 homers and 166 plate appearances, while Conforto only has 2. So, 150% more homers for Diaz rather than Conforto. A lot of the reason because he's just getting more balls in play. Now, that isn't to say that low walk rates are great for fantasy. Obviously, in a lot of cases, they're not. In OBP leagues, that's a disaster. In points leagues, that's really bad. But it's just the point that barrel per PA is a better stat than barrel rate, and I don't know why we don't cite that more. I don't know. Like when I quote barrel rate, I almost always say it along with the K rate, just to make that point. I kind of learned the Joey Gallo lesson early on, like when you were first hearing about barrels, right? When you were first hearing about barrel rate, when it was kind of invented, 2016, 17, 18, that's kind of when everybody became aware of it. That was when Joey Gallo was really doing it, and he would always have one of the highest barrel rates, but it wouldn't turn into much because of the 30-35% K rate he had, along with the 15-20% walk rate he had. I mean, he was hardly ever getting a ball in play, so his barrel rate really wasn't turning into homers. But that's the point. So let's go back to first baseman. Let's get our filter stuff reestablished. What did I do there? Clear that barrel rate slider. Okay. Let's go back up to who else did we miss? Interesting from the high. I'm calling these universally owned first baseman pretty much. Luis Arraez, 3 homers, 0 barrels. Interesting, but there's nothing new under the sun, as King Solomon would say. Not striking out, a strikeout rate. I think that's 3 strikeouts. Is that 3 strikeouts? A K rate under 2% in 172 plate appearances. Nice batting average, of course, 297, 331. Now, is 297 what you want from Luis Arraez? Not really. If you're getting, when you draft Luis Arraez, we're talking about roto leagues, I guess, you're pretty much accepting like 5, 6, 7 homers from him, and 2, 3 steals from him. So while a 300 batting average is good, to make up for a lack of that kind of lack of homers and steals, like you really want like 320, 330. You want some like game changing batting average, like the one you're getting from Freddie Freeman right now at 368, and you're not getting that. So I really don't think, I think Arraez, it's really hard to value him correctly in your head, because like the 2 for 4 you get most nights, 2 for 4, 2 for 5, whatever. Like it feels good, but it really just doesn't add up to a great roto value over the course of a season. So um, I would say consider cutting him if you have him. I don't know. At least consult your league's player rater or something like that. Like that's a pretty good way to use the player rater. See, okay, like in my head this is good because he's got a good batting average, but how valuable actually is it? Like because hitting 3 homers over 2 months really does hurt your fantasy team. Like when almost any other player in whatever spot he's in would have more than that, and home runs is one of the 5 categories. Like you got to really take that seriously. So that's that. Josh Naylor, kind of looking like pretty much like we predicted. I mean, he had the 30 homer season last year, and it just wasn't going to happen again. Doesn't hit the ball that hard. Maybe I should at least fact check myself. Josh Naylor, let's see. That's his brother as I select the wrong Naylor on the screen. So Naylor, 105.8 EV90, pretty good, I guess. That's fine. The 105 number I usually relate to is just because that kind of seems like the threshold you want to believe that a guy can hit 20 homers over a full season. It's if you're under 106, under 107, yeah, like again, 20 homers, expect that, but you really it's kind of foolish to expect 25 to 30 at that point. So yeah, that's what Naylor is. I don't know. He's a 20 to 25 homer guy. He's not a 30 homer guy. And especially since he went from Cleveland to Arizona, big ballpark, downshift, and the 5 homers through his first 200 plate appearances, that is pacing for a 17 homer season or something like that rather than the 25 to 30. RBIs, I think, are probably there. I don't have RBIs on this dashboard, but hitting in a really good lineup. I mean, the Diamondbacks are still in the top 5 in the league in run scoring. He's getting on base a ton, 362 OBP, 12% K rate. He's really taking that to a next level. Good contact hitter, some power. RBIs are there. So good player for what he's worth, but it's just don't be thinking you're going to get 30 homer pace from Josh Naylor. And that was something we were right on in the offseason, so I kind of feel justified about that. All right. That's kind of seemingly good for the universally owned guys. Let's shift down to look at some of the lower owned guys going to 40 to 70% owned. There's Ben Rice. Here he is. I suppose he's just not quite as owned, which makes sense because he has been sitting against lefties, and there's definitely questions about what the Yankees will do when Giancarlo Stanton comes back. Ben Rice has just really been their DH so far. Let me check on that. This is where we can go to the great baseball reference site. And we go to the fielding section. This is where I typically get my fielding information because I've never really put this into a dashboard. So yeah, 29 starts at DH this year, 6 at first base, and no starts at catcher, but he's gotten into a game. He's caught 3 innings, so I guess that means the Yankees. He's the emergency catcher, basically. He'll probably goes in there and blowouts. I don't know exactly how it works, but you're certainly not going to get catcher eligibility from him this year. Maybe if something crazy happens, then maybe he could play a little bit catcher, but that's not how they view him. They're viewing Rice as the DH, and with Stanton back, I mean, they're paying that guy $6 zillion, and he still can hit. Is he rehabbing or anything like that? Let's see. Let's go. So the MLB and MILB, kind of the minor league stat dashboard, is really good for checking minor league guys. And I don't see Stanton in here, so no rehab yet for him, but it won't be too long before he's back, and then the Yankees, again, have a decision to make. And the thing with Ben Rice is that really has slowed down lately. He had a bunch of homers kind of clustered at the beginning of the season, and since then it's been downhill. I mean, since it looks like he kind of peaked around April 23rd or so we'll go there. And yeah, last 79 plate appearances, 214 average, 3 homers is okay, but yeah, not lighting the world on fire. 443 slug. He's just been kind of more of a decent hitter rather than a good hitter lately. And then the struggles against lefties are clear. Only been allowed to face them 37 times this year, which tells you something in and of itself. But 32% K rate against them, 412 slug, 2 homers, 225 expected batting average, 319 expected WOBA against lefties for Rice. So that's what it's going to be. I mean, I don't think he's going to start. Even when Stanton comes back, right? Like it's never long before he's hurt again or whatever. And a lot of things can happen to get more playing time. Goldschmidt could get hurt. Who knows? Then Rice could go to first base. But I think, I don't think he needs to be universally owned. I think in a 10-team league, I think you're fine to drop him if there's somebody more interesting available, because right now he's sitting against lefties, and pretty soon he could just be not even a full-time player against righties, and that could be really rough. And again, like the production has slowed down. That said, all the good news for him on the year, 348 OBP, that's good. 23.5% K rate. That's under control, and 11.8% barrel rate. Hits the ball really hard. Not many questions about the raw power, especially in Yankee Stadium. 47% ground ball rate's a little bit higher than you'd like to see, but nothing terrible. So again, it's kind of the same story all with Aranda, Torkelson, Soderstrom, Rice. They all started really hot and have been more like just pretty good over the last 3-4 weeks rather than elite like they were at the beginning of the season. But overall, you still have to kind of like the full season numbers for all of them. I'm not definitely dropping any of them. I don't think they all need owned in like a 10-team shallow league or something like that. With Rice, the outlook is the worst for Rice because he's already not an everyday player, and it could get really bad with Stanton back. So that's that. Michael Busch also had a nice start. Good walk rate, 10.7% for Busch, 356 OBP. Barrel rate's good, 11.9%, but nothing fantastic. And, with that 25% K rate, he gives away. So he's a good example of this, right? 11.9% barrel rate is good, but barrel per PA is only 7.3%. So that's a huge lead behind Ben Rice. Really good example of what we're talking about here. So, although their barrel rates are not the same either, so never mind on that. But yeah, the barrel per PA isn't that great for Busch, but in a 15-team league, he's certainly a must-start first baseman in that kind of league. But 10-12-team league, I just don't think he does a whole lot. Not reliably good for power. He's got power. I mean, he'll hit some. He'll hit 20-ish homers, I'd say, that kind of pace. But he's not definitely a 30 home run guy, and there's no steals, and batting average is questionable and stuff like that. So that's Michael Busch. Yandy Diaz, 6 homers, so that ballpark has helped him seemingly early on, at least. Let's pull up his last 2 years. Where'd the other one go? Yandy, because he was kind of a nice bounce back-ish pick, if you want to call it that. The problem with him has been the high ground ball rates, which has just had him really struggling to hit homers. He only hit 14 last year with a 280 batting average. This year, though, a much better home run pace. K rate's down a couple more points to 13%. Barrel rate still about the same, 7.8%. But that ballpark, he's going to steal a few home runs, especially the opposite field, which he does a lot. He does a lot of that. So 6 homers and 192 plate appearances. On pace for 15 to 20, which is a lot for Diaz. And then you do usually get a high OBP from him. Not happening this year. Walk rate's way down to 6.3%. So maybe not an OBP guy anymore, but a lot of base hits, doesn't strike out, hits a lot of hard hit ground balls and line drives. So easily league specific, I would say. Not must own, but decent in certain spots. Nathaniel Lowe is the other guy on the screen here. 8 homers. Hit a few really early on. I think he had a couple in the first weekend, so things have slowed down. I don't really think there's much reason to own Nathaniel Lowe. Walk rate is not as elite as it used to be, 9.5%, so the OBP is bad, 299. Expected batting average, 246, which is better than his actual at 221, but yeah, 28% K rate, kind of bad. I don't know. No reason to really go for Nathaniel Lowe, but obviously in a crazy 15, 18 team league or something like that, then he's playing every day and hitting in the middle of a lineup, and that makes him worthwhile in some situations. Andrew Vaughn, has this luck stuff gotten any better for him? I mean, the White Sox don't get you excited at all. You really need solid production for a player to be worthwhile owning when they're on the White Sox. He has been unlucky. It looks like he's kind of just hit worse lately. For the first few weeks of the season, he had an above average expected WOBA while his WOBA was terrible, and it was like, okay, he's going to get better, but now he's kind of just a little bit below average in both. So I don't really see much reason for Andrew Vaughn except in again, those crazy deep leagues, but I think I could probably stop even saying that. I think it's a given that certain guys need owned in super deep leagues. Common Zardo, again, seemingly a little bit of an empty power guy, 27% K rate, 11% walk rate. So again, another guy giving away a lot of plate appearances, not putting balls in play in a lot of his plate appearances. So the higher K rate and the super high fly ball rate at 41%, that's one of the highest in the league. That's good for power, but bad for batting average, and that's why you see that 210 expected batting average. So the 221 batting average is probably not going to move up too much. Maybe you can get to 230, 235 or something. I mean, 220 is really low for a guy that hits the ball as hard as he does, and he'll probably hit fewer fly balls. 41% fly ball rate, not really sustainable, but you should get home runs out of him. I mean, he's got a home run every 16 plate appearances so far this year. That's a really good rate. He's got 10, so he's on pace for 25 to 30 homers. Not sure if that'll keep up. Who knows? Maybe the league will bounce back, adjust to him, and make a tweak. But he's got first base eligibility now as well. He didn't have that at first, so he's a little bit sneaky. I'd say he's probably better than people think, but batting average and OBP are going to be bad. Um, Jake Berger, I don't know, like he kind of went down for the demotion and then came back up, and I just can't shake what he did last year when he was really terrible for 3 or 4 months and got dropped everywhere, and then came back up late July, really turned it on and was awesome. July, August, September. But yeah, since getting called back up, I think that was about 10 days ago or so. Uh, yeah, it looks like 26 plate appearances since getting recalled, 333 average, 385 OBP, 542 slug, 19% K rate, 10.5% barrel rate, 279 expected batting average. Really short sample, 26 plate appearances, but things are looking a lot better for him. So in a deeper league, I think you can pick him up. Huge exit velocity. I mean, the guy hits the ball really hard. Rangers lineup is not great, but I don't know. It's a better situation than Miami, even ballpark wise. So I think he's a little bit sneaky. If you need some cheap homers, you can go for him. Things are looking a little bit better since he shook off that first stint. Already talked about Aranda. One other guy that has been really interesting this year, Rhys Hoskins, 454 slug isn't great, but the 393 OBP is great, 13.7% walk rate, low swing rate. That's kind of how you get to a high walk rate, is just don't swing that much. But he's making contact at a decent clip, 74%, 270 expected batting average. So yeah, batting average is a little bit inflated with his 356 BABIP. Overperforming a bit for sure, but in his Phillies days, he was nice for two things. He was nice for walks, for getting on base, and hitting homers at a decent rate. Now, the home run rate here only has 5 now on a 7.1% barrel rate now. So that's come down a bit. He must not have a barrel in a week or so. So yeah, the power numbers aren't all that impressive right now. 5 homers and 168 plate appearances. That's a pace of like just south of 20, I guess. So that's not looking good. What's the exit velocities? We got to see that because he does have power. I mean, very clearly. 104.2, 90th percentile EV, so maybe it's not as good as it used to be. I don't know. He's just looking a lot better than he was last year. I mean, last year he was pretty hard to roster. Looked really rough. Let's pull this up as we wrap this up here. I don't have too many more guys to talk about, I don't think. But let's get to Rhys because I do want to highlight the things he's doing better this year. Last year, 29% K rate. This year, 22%. Contact rate actually looks kind of similar. 74% last year, 74.5% this year. Expected batting average, 206 last year, 270 this year. Expected WOBA, 366 this year after a really bad 302 last year. Barrel rate, actually a little bit worse now. Again, he's kind of on a cold spell. It looks like 12.7% last year, 11.3% this year. But again, remember this point that he's striking out way less. So that barrel rate is probably functionally better because he's giving away way fewer plate appearances to the strikeout. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's a 15 to 20 homer guy, but the OBP is nice, and I think he can hit homers at a better rate than this. So, I don't know. I guess he's not a 10-team league guy. I don't think there's a lot of other options and whatnot, but yeah, better than you might be thinking, I would say. So, he's someone to consider in a deep league. Anything else? Nolan Shannon, we'll talk about him in the notes this morning. Swinging the bat harder, hitting the ball harder, but it hasn't translated quite yet. 3 homers, but I think he can hit more homers than he did last year, and the K rate's really nice. Batting average is pretty good right now, 277, 356 OBP, along with that 10.7% walk rate. So really great plate discipline. Has that kind of hit tool, the plate discipline stuff. That's all very good. Maybe you can just, he's hitting the ball harder overall, but like we saw in the daily notes this morning, he's actually not hitting the ball harder when it's in the air. That's kind of been the same. And overall, even though he's hitting it harder, it's still not hitting it hard. Like it's still low. It's just that maybe he can get to 12 to 15 home runs this year. I don't know, maybe even can get to 16, 17. We'll see. But there are improvements, and he's a young hitter, so he's someone to certainly keep an eye on. I think he could play himself into 12-team league consideration or something like that, and especially in an OBP league. If batting average and OBP are really premium, like a points league or something like that, the lack of strikeouts really does help. So points league, he's probably a must-own guy in like a deeper points league, but Roto, without the steals, without the homers, really not much to talk about there. And I don't know, it looks like that's kind of it. And we look at maybe let's take off some filters. Let's go to like recent. So I like setting the date range here. Let's just go to the last 3 weeks. That'd be like April 29th or so. Drop the plate appearance criteria down to 45, and let's sort by expected WOBA, see if anybody stands out. Here it's Contreras, it's Shanuel. So yeah, 426 expected WOBA for Shanuel in the last 3 weeks, but just 1 homer, so it's been mostly looks like doubles, kind of that kind of stuff. Alec Burleson's been very good lately, 587 slug, 4 homers, 15.4% barrel rate, 14% K rate. I just view him kind of like Shanaway. More of a line drive hitter, not hitting the ball super hard, not stealing any bases, but just kind of a batting average guy. But yeah, lifting it more lately. 26% ground ball rate's really low, so looking okay. And then Vinny Pasquantino, he's someone we didn't talk about. 5 homers. Let's look at him as we finish this up because Vinny is an interesting case. Healthy again, he's missed some time to injury, but came into this year fully healthy. Hasn't missed any time yet, but the production really has not been there. 18.5% K rate. That's actually up. I mean, that's good K rate, but it's up from what he saw in the past. I mean, he was like 14-15% if I remember correctly. Not walking, 4.5% walk rate. Pitchers really aren't seemingly too afraid of him. Swinging a little bit aggressively, 49.5%. That's above the league average, but it's not super high. Just has never really been a fly ball hitter, and actually has improved there. I mean, 39% ground ball rate, 20% line drive rate, 33% fly ball rate. Those numbers are okay. EV90's at 104.7, so yeah, I think he can slug better than the 392 he has so far for sure. 322 expected WOBA. I'm sure his expected slugging is a lot higher than 390, so better times ahead, but he doesn't steal bases. It's a tough ballpark to hit home runs in. He's kind of slow too, so I don't think has a ton of upside, but I think he can play better than he has so far, so that's the story with Vinny. And that is going to wrap it up. Good look at the dashboard and some good Bible talk at the beginning of that. I don't know, depending on who you are, I guess. So that's it. Talk to you next time.